If you have ever run the web scanner Nikto, you know it is incredibly powerful. You also know it can leave you absolutely drowning in results. So the big question is, how do you turn that fire hose of data into clear, actionable security insights? Well, let's dive into a strategy that does exactly that.
So here's what we're going to cover. We'll kick things off with a quick look at what Nikto is, then we'll tackle the main problem, the overwhelming noise it generates. From there, we'll introduce the triage strategy and a practical framework you can use. And finally, we'll see the payoff, how we turn all that noise into a crystal clear signal.
All right, first things first. Let's make sure we're all on the same page. What exactly is Nikto, and what makes it both a huge help and, honestly, a bit of a headache for security pros? Okay, so Nikto is a super popular open-source web scanner. Its whole reason for being is to be relentlessly, almost ridiculously thorough. We're talking about checks for over 6,700 sketchy files and probing for specific vulnerabilities across hundreds of different server types. It's basically designed to find everything it can possibly find.
And that right there is the double-edged sword. Its power is its comprehensiveness. It can uncover a massive range of potential issues. But that exact same strength is what makes it so incredibly noisy. It just churns out this huge volume of findings, and a lot of them are low-risk items or even straight-up false positives.
So this brings us to the main challenge that pretty much every single Nikto user runs into, that feeling of being completely and utterly buried in the output.
It really is the perfect analogy. You're trying to find that one critical needle, the vulnerability that could actually bring down a system, and it's hidden in this giant, sprawling haystack of informational alerts and low-level warnings. The real risk is in there, somewhere.
And this isn't some kind of exaggeration. A single scan on even a moderately complex web app can easily spit out over 1,000 potential findings. When you see a number like that, you just have to ask yourself, where do I even start?
This quote just nails the feeling perfectly. I've been there. You've probably been there. You know in your gut that most of it is just noise. You know that 95% of it can probably be ignored. But the stakes are sky high because a critical, game-over vulnerability could be lurking in that tiny 5%, and it's your job to find it.
So, what's the solution? How do we find that critical 5% without wasting days sifting through the other 95%? This is the turning point, where we stop just reacting to the data and start getting strategic.
Now here's the most important point. The answer isn't to go find a less noisy scanner. The real solution is a totally different approach to the results you already have, and that approach is triage.
And in our world, triage is all about one thing: speed. It's the process of rapidly sorting and prioritizing those scan results. It's a system to help you figure out what needs your attention right now, and, just as important, what you can confidently and safely ignore. All right, theory is one thing, but let's get practical. Let's walk through a concrete framework that you can use on your very next Nikto scan. Here it is, a simple 4-step process. First, you group similar findings. Put all the server header stuff in one bucket, all the directory listings in another. Easy. Second, prioritize those groups by their potential impact. What could actually do damage? Third, and this is key, you focus only on validating those high-priority items. And finally, you document and report the stuff that's actually real. Okay, let's zero in on that second step because prioritization is everything. This is where your eyes should go immediately. Are there any hints of potential remote code execution or SQL injection? Is there an admin panel wide open to the world? What about things that point to sensitive data exposure, like a .git folder or an old piece of software with a known critical bug? These are your signals. These are the needles you're looking for. So what happens when you actually apply this framework consistently? Something amazing. You stop seeing a giant, intimidating wall of text, and you start seeing a clear path forward. This is where it all pays off. This table just lays it out so clearly. On the left, you've got the noise. Directory indexing on a public folder, a server header revealing the version. Interesting, maybe, but low impact. But on the right, that's the signal. An admin page that's actually accessible, an old Apache version with a known RCE, an exposed source code repo. One of these is a distraction. The other is a ticking time bomb. And the results are just dramatic. Instead of spending, say, 4 hours painstakingly going through every single line item, a disciplined triage approach can get you to the real, actionable intelligence, the actual risks, in under an hour. You're not doing less work, you're doing smarter, more focused, high-impact work. And really, this is the whole goal. It's about a fundamental shift in how you work, moving from being just a data sorter to becoming a true intelligence analyst. You're taking that raw, messy output and turning it into something valuable, something people can actually act on.
So the next time you see that scan complete message pop up, just ask yourself this. Now that you have a framework, are you going to get lost in the noise, or are you going to go straight for the signal?